Okay, so what we got here is the Procunier tapping and drilling head. When I got this is the 1E model, the smallest one. I think it does 0 to 1/4 inch. When I got this one, it didn't spin. It didn't. The shaft and the clutch didn't engage and disengage. It was basically seized up. So this is going to give you a rundown on how to take it apart and clean it up. As this one, as you see, I've already pulled it apart and done the work, so that part is and I didn't show it as seized up or whatever. But anyway, this is how you take it apart. So you start with these 4 screws. Take this apart. It's a pretty tight fit. So, alright, what we have here is top drive gear. This is the actual cork clutch in there. And you'll see more as we take it apart. Okay, so now to remove the clutch, you just remove these 2 screws here. Sorry, reading glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Got these 2 screws out. So now this is the trickiest part of this whole thing. So there's a pin that goes through this shaft that drives this clutch. It ties the clutch assembly to the shaft, and you have to reach around. I don't know if you'll be able to see in the video, but there's 2 little indents. If you look at the manual, you'll be able to show it more. There's one on each side, and what you have to do is reach in here with some kind of bent wire or something and push that pin out. So I used a paper clip in this instance, but if you can kind of see down in that screw hole where I'm engaging the paper clip, so you're just going to push and you see the other side, see the pin start to come out the other hole over here. See, the pin wasn't there. You're just pushing it off to one side, and I found I had to constantly readjust the length of this my paper clip to be able to push it out all the way, and it does have to be pushed out all the way. You'll know when it comes out because you'll be able to see it over here on the side. It'll come out one side. So it takes a little bit of work. It took me a little bit of work to do it anyway. And I haven't been able to speed this process up, but like I said, this was the trickiest part for me. Alright, see how it popped out there? So now when you've got it out, it's still not all the way out. So you just got to keep finagling it until it comes all the way out. Just kind of push it. Oh, there it came loose now. You'll feel the clutch assembly come loose. Now you've got that pin disengaged right there. Now you can take the clutch assembly off. Okay, there's your clutch assembly. This is your clutch spring. Okay, be sure not to lose that little fiber washer there. And there's your assembly. Okay, and this shaft is now free to slide in and out. If you look there, this is your little drive. So what you do if you pull this, mine's, like I said, when I first got this one, it was very hard to get the shaft out. I didn't have to quite use a hydraulic press, but it took some finagling to get it out. But anyway, so if you slide that out and keep your center assembly centered there, set your shaft to the side. This, I don't know what this is called, but the part that you want to get cleaned up is this bearing right here. So this is like an old style open bearing where the outer race is built into this bottom cup. And this bearing was a little bit nasty, and this bearing was a little bit nasty, and I just cleaned all the grease out of it with some naphtha and re-greased it. You could probably use a little bit heavier duty grease. I just used what I had at the time, was just like standard, I don't know what a wheel bearing grease or whatnot. They make a heavier duty, a stickier grease that'll probably last a lot longer, but I plan on like maintaining this now that I know how to do it. So, but anyway, so you'll notice the bearing, this part, you could take it apart if you want. There's really no need to, unless this gear was damaged. And there's the planetary gear system. That's how it works. Is you'll notice this piece here has a gear in the top, the gear in the middle that drives everything, and then these planetary gears on the bottom. So when you assemble it, you just drop that bearing in, make sure you've got it assembled where it spins the 3 planetary gears. It's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. You line your shaft up. I threw some grease on the brass bearings, obviously, something you probably want to do. So you get that inserted. Another key point is to not get grease on any of these surfaces where your cork clutch is going to drive. This clutch is the one that was in it. I've ordered parts to replace these. So when I get those new parts, I'll put them in. But I put it in the drill press and it worked fine, the way that it was, honestly. But not knowing it, not sight unseen, I just went ahead and ordered all the parts to rebuild it. But then you put to rebuild it, you clean it all up, get all the old grease and nastiness out of it. You insert the clutch spring. It says on the clutch, it says top. There's the top, number 1E. So when you put it in, there's a hole in the shaft that this pin will go through. You just have to kind of slide it in and line that up. The top of the clutch assembly there is pretty much even with that shelf on the shaft. So, and you'll feel it engage in. So now it's in halfway. You do have to, if you'll notice the shaft, the pin for the shaft, you can see it's still kind of in that hole, and you have to get the pin all the way in to where it's not sticking in not visible through the screw holes, and then when you put the screws back in, that's kind of holds the pin in place. So let's put that back in. Just kind of push it in there until it's not visible anymore. You might have to finagle with the spring. Again, this little pin is the hardest thing in the whole assembly kind of deal. So just push it in there until it's not. Be sure not to shove it all the way through the other side. If you shove it all the way through, it'll pop it in, and you'll know because you won't be able to put these screws back in if the pin's in the way. So then you drop the screws in. Of course, replace any parts that you've ordered or rebuild or whatever. I ordered the parts, most of the parts, the spring, the clutch drive itself. I ordered off of McMaster, so they're pretty standard fare. These things have been around for many years, and I've seen them in many manufacturing facilities and machine shops I've worked in. I've just never really rebuilt one, and when this one I got it free. I just wanted to see if I could rebuild it before I spend another $700. These things are kind of expensive. They're about 700 bucks. So let me put that in. Like I said, you'll see the clutch, the way that it drives in and out, it should be nice and free, and all your Planet gear should spin. And then put the other drive assembly back. So, another thing you have to be careful of is this little fiber washer here that goes inside. That'll kind of fall out. I'm not too sure what purpose that serves, but it was in there when I took it apart, so I left it in there. Yeah, but anyway, kind of snap together. Alright, so I'll just do those hand tires to show you. So now, when it's engaged, it'll spin. So now, right now, it's engaged. The clutch is engaged with the top gear. That's, if you remember that cup on the inside. So that's what's engaged, and then while you're pushing down on it, so you got that force, and then when you pull up on it, this shaft kicks out, and even though the drill is spinning in the, this is going to still be spinning in the same direction. The drill press is going to be spinning in the same direction. You're going to reverse this, is what you're going to do. So you'll notice that they spin in the same direction with it up. When you pull it down, it spins in the opposite direction. Like I said, this clutch was a little worn. It did slip a little bit. I've got those parts on order, but you'll get the gist of it. When you push down the drill press, it'll engage it, and then when you lift up on the drill press, it'll switch it from top gear set to the bottom to the planetary gear set, and that's what reverses your drive. All right.